So good morning, everybody. Mayor Young, Chairman Pullman, Councilwoman Walker, any other council members here? And there's some that may be coming in here, as well as the Board of Commissioners here on the front row. Thanks everybody for being here today. And our esteemed mayor for the day. Also here, raise your hand. I know Mayor Young will have more to say about that. All right, but thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to come to this announcement that I think is a big deal for our community. Our mission at MLGW is to ensure the reliability, availability, and affordability of the services that we provide to our customers. And over the past few years, you know we have been working incredibly hard to improve the reliability, especially of our electric grid. And we've done that by making aggressive investments in the infrastructure, doing things like tree trimming, and quite frankly, we've all enjoyed the benefits of that work through dramatically increased reliability in the year 2024 and what we're seeing even into 2025. Now that work's going to continue all the way through 2029 as we modernize our grid, and we've talked about that separately. But today, I'm announcing that MLGW is going to take another big step forward to ensure the availability and affordability of power that we increasingly rely upon in our day-to-day lives. On March 14th, MLGW is going to issue a request for proposal seeking vendors who can assist us with installing 100 megawatts of solar generation and up to 80 megawatts of utility scale battery storage for the benefit of MLGW customers throughout the entire system. Now, when this is operational in 2026, MLGW solar and batteries are going to provide net new energy for our MLGW customers and for the grid. It's going to provide a positive impact on our electric operations and our electric operations finances. Now, solar, for the first time, is going to allow us to generate energy locally that can help meet a portion of our needs at a very affordable rate. And the utility scale batteries are going to allow us to do two things. First of all, peak shave. And what does that mean? That's dispatching low-cost energy that is stored electricity in those batteries, and we dispatch it during times of peak demand when energy prices are very high. And also, we can store energy as a resilience measure to have stored energy that when demand on the grid is very high, we have the ability to put some new energy into the grid to ensure that everybody keeps the lights on. Now, that typically happens on very hot or very cold days when we'll have that reserve energy in those batteries. Now, a question that will come up, yes, we have been talking, and thank you, Jimmy, for being here, our partners at TVA, we've been talking about this for some time, and while we are doing this RFP, both parties are committed to memorializing this effort with an agreement that doesn't change our existing contract for power, but that works for both MLGW and for TVA. Now, in our nation and around our world, the demand for energy will soon outpace our collective ability to meet it. And if we're going to meet our needs here locally and nationally in the future, we need everyone in the game. Well, with today's announcement, I will tell you, MLGW is in the game. And we're taking what we believe is an important, huge first step in helping our community, the Tennessee Valley, and our entire nation meet the challenges ahead. And so now I'd like to call up Chairman Pullman, who's the chairman of the Board of Commissioners from Memphis Lake Gas and Water, for his comments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and I appreciate everyone being here. The president has put out this is a big announcement, and we're all behind it. We've been pushing for this for the last probably 3 years or so. And on behalf of our Board of Commissioners, I want to applaud President McGowan and all the senior staff and all the other members, the union as well. We're all on one page pretty much moving forward. We have gotten out of the scale of, or the pace of snail, and things are happening a lot quicker. As you said, we've been looking at this solar thing for 2 years now, and it's finally coming into fruition, and as well as several other items that are we're dealing with, and we're staying focused on being in the business of providing power, water, and gas. And that's all that's important. I hope none of you lost your power in last night's windstorm or any of the snow or any of the other stuff. Our system is much better, much more reliable, and more and more better things are on the horizon. With that being said, I think everything's been covered, and I want to introduce our mayor, Paul Young. And I also want to thank him for his efforts. I mean, he has done a lot to get our council approval on several items that have been tough for us to get done, and I applaud you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, President McGowan, and thank you to the MLGW Board for this historic day. I really, really appreciate what you all are doing for our community. I want to acknowledge our mayor for the day, Ms. Kaylee Strickland. Y'all give it up for Ms. Kaylee Strickland. She's a second grade student at Richland. I was about to say high school. I was about to put you in high school. Second grade student at Richland Elementary, and she's hanging out with me for the day along with her mom, Ms. Kim Strickland. So thank you. To our Councilwoman Pearl Walker, a staunch advocate for sustainability and a great council member. Just want to say thank you for being here. So y'all give it up for her. And again, I want to thank you all for this historic step, for being thoughtful about how we preserve the most valuable resources in our community. TVA, I'm sorry I didn't acknowledge you all, but thank you all for this partnership as well. As we think about power in the future, we know that power is something that is of the utmost concern to many people all across this nation. And we're thinking about ways to do it more sustainably, cleaner, thinking about ways that we can limit our impact on the environment. And I think this is such an important step. And so I can't say enough how many strides MLGW has been taking. I can recall a number of years ago where we would have a lot of questions around reliability and power outages and things of that nature. Over the last year or two, you all have done a very good job of improving reliability for the customers in this area. As a Memphian, I am saying thank you. As storms hitting our area become stronger and they last longer, the summers are becoming hotter and the winters are becoming colder, solar generation and utility scale energy storage is going to be a powerful tool in our power arsenal. And so these actions are going to not only protect Memphians, but a stronger grid is going to also allow us to foster economic development, as power and power stability are increasingly essential to the companies that we're seeking to recruit in this area. And making Memphis Power even more reliable is a major selling point that we are taking all around the country as we tell the Memphis story. So on behalf of the city of Memphis, I want to say thank you and let's go.
All right.
We have time to take a couple of questions for the reporters in the room. Sam?
Yeah, this is for Doug. It's a two-part question. You mentioned memorializing some way an agreement with TVA to do this. Would that be an addendum to the contract? Like, what exactly would the legal structure? Because right now, MLGW is legally not allowed.
Sure. As I say, this will do nothing to change. Thank you for the question, Sam. I think it's a good one. It does nothing to change our fundamental power agreement that we have with TVA. This is going to be memorialized. Some would say as a side agreement or an amendment that would come alongside the existing agreement. And that's what we'll work on together. We have a commitment to work together to find a way that works for both organizations.
And then to follow up, how much has the arrival of XAI and its power needs brought this? This was obviously an idea before,
Sure.
but brought this more urgency to this?
I think that's just one of the most recent developments that we've had here. I think the important thing that you said, Sam, is that we've been thinking about this for the last few years. We had a discussion. I arrived in December of 2022. In the spring of 2023, we talked about it with the team. We talked about it with the board in August of 2023, and we actually put money in the budget in 2024 for this, long before we had ever heard of XAI. So I think we understood at the time that the growth of the electric demand in this nation and around the world is significant and challenging our ability to keep up. And so things like data centers are very large concentrated loads, but relative to the overall demand for electricity from residential and other commercial uses, it's just one more use. So they're a little bit divorced for me. It's just that we had the arrival and the confluence of those the two things happening together.
What about the plans in the past for aeroderivatives for peaking power? Does the utility still have plans for those?
So can you ask about, what's the question, Sam?
Does the utility still have plans for aeroderivatives?
Oh, so we have no active plans for acquiring aeroderivative generation right now. That's something that we had talked about back when there was some real crunch time around the availability of power. Thankfully, everybody has worked together to find a way through that, but that always is an option that could be explored. And what we're talking about here for people that may not understand that these are peaking generation plants that can be turned on when the demand for electricity is extra high. But MLGW has no plans to move forward with acquiring or leasing those today, but it's something that we should always keep in our hip pocket in the future.
As part of the RFP, would there be a requirement for this the land for the solar and the batteries to be in Memphis, or could it be, say, across the border in Mississippi?
So I'm not going to rule out any options because we're issuing a request for proposal, and I want to get the broadest array of responses back, which I anticipate there will be a lot of people interested, and I think there will be a lot of ways that this could be done. For us, we're certainly going to ask people to look at land that MLGW already owns that is dedicated for utilities. We have 60-plus substations in and around the area. We have some other large parcels of land. Our priority is to try to use this on land that's not necessarily usable for anything else productive, but would be most appropriately used for solar. And then I'll take recommendations from the respondents if they have another recommendation. So, the physics of electricity really don't know any state boundaries or county boundaries or anything. What I think our customers count on is, are they having the power and are they getting it at an affordable rate and reliably? And so I'm not going to constrain us at this point because I want the widest array of options presented to us.
What about weather boundaries? This is our, third winter, day to day?
Our weather boundaries?
Yeah, I know. So it's our third winter, right? That was a joke. So with cloudy days like today,
Sure.
how are our solar panels really going to help us?
So it's a good question. So we look at solar and the amount of time that it generates energy, and so you look at the amount of reflectivity or illumination that we have here and how effective your solar panels can be, and that goes into determining your payback period, as does the number of sunny and cloudy days. So when it's generating, it's generating. And the good news there is when you have batteries in your system, you can capture and store some of that energy for deployment. It's not generating all the time. That is why it's important for everybody to understand there has to be a mix of energy supply. From nuclear, which is a good base load supply, it provides relatively steady power all the time, to hydro, to wind, solar, gas-fired generation is going to be with us for some time because there is no one energy source that can meet all of our needs. So it's a great question. The sun doesn't shine all the time. That's why you capture and store some of that in batteries so that you have it available for you. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that it's a first step and that you're looking at a lot of sites. Is there a scenario where you guys end up taking more than one bid, or you guys are looking at beyond just the original 100 megawatts and 80 megawatts?
Yes, sir. So the RFP is for 100 megawatts plus or minus. So there may be vendors that come back and suggest that they could do something smaller than that. And in that case, we may have multiple vendors that we accept their bid for. Others may say it makes more sense for you to do 150 megawatts to make it financially viable. So we'll consider all of those options. This is directionally where we want to be, 100 megawatts and 80 megawatts of storage. It's plus minus on all of those. And so really it's going to be dependent. I don't want to constrain the vendors to say they have to do something that's not going to be affordable or sustainable because I put a specific limit on it.
Site selectors are telling me that pretty much any manufacturer, and this might be more for the mayor, but manufacturers are looking for at least 150 megawatts before they even open a conversation. Are you guys kind of prepared to take that kind of load as you recruit in companies?
So that's a good question. And manufacturing can be anything from light manufacturing to heavy. I have not heard that what you said, that manufacturing for 150 megawatts. And typically that's in the range of a very large data center. But day-to-day manufacturing, it typically does not need that much power. But we consider those on a case-by-case basis. We have a very capable distribution system. TVA has a very capable generation and transmission system. And so when you're talking about connecting a very large load, just as we did with many of the customers who come here, we look at those and we determine what's possible. Can we connect this, keep this power reliable, and is there available power for it? So we encourage people who want to come to Memphis specifically because we have proven that we'll find a way to make it work.
Thank you.
Sam.
so this is just for a solar facility, but what about net metering? You know, there are thousands of rooftops in this community that could put solar on them. What changes to the existing arrangement with TVA would MLGW consider to allow that?
Sure, well, that's prohibited by the state of Tennessee today, the net metering. That's a state issue. And that's something that folks have to understand, that there's going to be a partnership between MLGW, TVA, and the states where net metering is either prohibited or allowed. That's a little separate from what we're talking about today. We're talking about utility scale solar, but we understand that's important to our constituents, and we'll continue to mature individual residential solar as we move forward. Any other questions?
Mr. McGowan, you talked about reliability for MLGW customers. Can you kind of reiterate that and when you guys are cutting off the RFP process?
So reliability is something that we've been focused on very heavily on over the last 2 years, actually the last 7 years. And we've made significant improvements through the MLGW Way Forward, and now we're into the second phase of that, doing aggressive tree trimming. We have significantly increased the reliability. In 2024 was the most reliable year we've had in the last 6 years. We are not at our reliability goals, but we're moving towards the where we should be performance-wise, and we're going to continue to work until we get there. That's millions of customer minutes that were not interrupted because of that reliability. Now, the RFP will go out on March 14th, and we expect the responses back by April 26th, or 28th, April 28th. So it'll be about a 6-week period for respondents to come back, and so we're excited to see the results that we get. We know there will be dialogue between now and then between us and potential vendors.
We have time for about 2 more questions.
Yes, sir.
Any particular sites of focus for MLGW already sticking out, or is it still kind of come as we can take it?
I would like the vendors to bring us their recommendations. Should they ask what sites we have available to start, we'll certainly provide that information to them. Yes. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you all for being here. I believe this is a big day, a big step forward for MLGW. We have been a distributor of power. This gives us the ability to help generate some of the power to meet partial needs, and then also to have that resilience, that hedge of resilience with battery storage. This is the first step with our battery storage and what will be, obviously, over time, a much larger storage project that we have. And so look forward to taking this big first bold step that I think our community will welcome. Thank you all.